Monder, it's really great seeing you today for the National Conversation About Food Expert Voices series. It's been a really exciting time for food system transformation in Birmingham, and you've played such a key role with your role as the director of the Centre for Research in Ethnic Minority Entrepreneurship at Aston Uni.
It's great seeing you too, Sarah, and can I say it's particularly appropriate that you should be contributing to the series as the food systems lead at Birmingham City Council, overseeing the development and rollout of the city's food strategy. That's a hell of a title. There can't be many people in the UK with a title like yours.
Thanks, Monder. So we started developing the Birmingham Food System Strategy in 2021. And what's been amazing is to realise how many people have already been working in this space for so many years. So I think the key role that we've taken in the city is facilitating the connections between all these different areas, different people's different backgrounds, perspectives, whether you're looking at the food system from economy perspective, like yourself, or whether it's from the environment perspective or nutrition. There's so many different ways that we can look at the food system. But I think what's been really key to our approach is looking at the challenges from different perspectives as well, because the only time that you actually get real solutions is putting people together in a room and recognizing that we already have the solutions in our city. We need to connect together. We need to facilitate those opportunities. And I think what happens in other cities sometimes is you might tackle a single challenge. But what we've done in Birmingham is we've looked at the entire food system and tried to prioritise which challenges we're tackling first, but we're always working on all sorts of different areas at the same time. And the only way to do that is to just go out there and build relationships. We need to be more connected with people from ethnic minority businesses, as well as large-scale supermarkets and caterers, but also the people who are buying and purchasing and processing food and handling food waste. So I think what's been really amazing and an absolute joy for our team is to see how much goes on in our city already and how many solutions we already hold. But I know that you've been working in Birmingham for lots of years, and you've worked with many different communities and various different projects. But what challenges and opportunities do you think there are for Birmingham citizens in relation to food?
That's a great question, Sarah, and I'll answer that. Before I do so, though, I think it's worthwhile emphasising how welcome it is that you, on behalf of the council, are taking the time to build relationships and really understand the lived experience of diverse communities, which brings me to your question about the challenges that I see facing Birmingham citizens. It probably won't come as a great shock to you that I'm a Brummie, as you can tell from my accent, and born and bred in this city. And one of the major challenges I see this agenda and the whole socio-economic agenda is inequality. Birmingham has got a very rich history, dynamic history, and it's welcomed citizens from across the globe. That's added hugely to the communities, to the city, but there's also the challenge of enduring inequality, which of course affects ethnic minority groups particularly severely. And so I think that is an enduring challenge. At the same time, it's an opportunity. That heritage, that history, cosmopolitanism, bringing in communities from all over the globe means that our palette, our food is richly diverse. The last census highlighted that we're a majority minority city, and that brings with it loads of exciting developments in terms of cuisine and food, and you can see that through the transformation of particular areas. Go to sort of Stratford Road in our city. 10, 20 years ago, it was known as the Balti Quarter. Balti is still a significant area, food type there, but there's whole sorts of other communities now settling in, and the cuisine has become genuinely international, genuinely multicultural. So, we have this, I suppose, parallel challenges of a huge inequality affecting minority communities, but those minority communities proving resilient and proving very entrepreneurial and resourceful, and often doing that through the food sector, and in so doing enriching our palate and also enriching the local community and economy too. But that's just my perspective. I know that you've been listening to citizens across the city. Well, what have you heard about them, and what do they want from the food strategy? And is there anything that surprised you?
Thanks. Yeah, it's been such an amazing exploration to the food system, because I think too often we try to find one size fits all solutions. Those sorts of solutions are very convenient, but it means that you are going to maximize inequalities that we already have. The reason we have a one size fits all is that it will be suiting a majority, but the people that often need an adapted approach or some different way of doing things are then left out. So what we found is, for example, you might develop a culturally diverse healthy eating guide that's for one particular region, but people don't live in a box in Birmingham. We don't live as one identity with one label. We are incredibly diverse people in our lives and our experiences. So we need to, even when it comes to supporting with like nutritional diets and reducing diabetes or looking at all these challenges, you need to look at the genuine way that families and people interact with food. What you eat at home might be different to what you eat at college. So that's been an interesting exploration into what are the boundaries for a multicultural city like ours, where the solutions need to be quite adaptable. So that's something that's been really driving our work forward this year as well. The other thing that I've discovered is that I've pretty much met no one who isn't supportive of a healthy, nutritious, sustainable, affordable diet being something that is promoted and available for everyone. However, they face barriers, endless barriers, because of the way our food system is set up. So I think sometimes people focus too much on the what, like what do we want? We want to eat more local food, for example, but they're not supporting the how. And I think that's where we've really started to make headway this year, learning about how are people achieving that in the city? What can we learn about how different businesses approach it? What sorts of support can be given to overcome some of these barriers? Because it can feel like a massive task. If you've got food that you offer and you want to change it, but you don't know if there's demand, like that's a risky situation to put a business in, to not know whether you'll be able to sell food, whether you'll be able to be economically viable if you make changes. Also, families, if they change the food that's on offer and the kids don't want to eat it, and then they can't afford to provide an alternative option if the child hasn't eaten it. So there's all these challenges that come from inequalities from deprivation and poverty as well, which cause huge challenges in our city. But I think the key thing is to make sure that we look at any solutions and challenges that we come up with from these different perspectives, find solutions from people who are already doing these things in the city, and make sure that we're supporting people overcome those risk factors of what if this doesn't work, because that's often the barrier that stops people being able to push a change through. And we've also been capturing the stories of local food legends across the city. There's so many people doing amazing things here, whether it's about growing, whether it's in the economy, whether it's nutrition initiatives or supporting new businesses to grow. But there's like a lot of those stories we just don't hear about, because people are doing things despite the system. They are coming up with their own solutions for themselves, for their communities, for their businesses, for their work. But you've obviously been working across the city and you've heard loads of amazing stories of things that are happening. So what sorts of things have you come across that's happening in Birmingham that people might not know about?
Well, Sarah, I think two particular initiatives spring to mind, both which I find incredibly exciting. The first one relates to a 3-year project that we've undertaken with Bangladeshi caterers, funded by the Economic and Social Research Council. Now, we're an academic institution, we're a centre focusing on minority businesses, and this project was looking at how Bangladeshi caterers could improve their productivity. Interestingly, the project started just before the pandemic, and it was constructed as a fairly traditional research project, us interviewing the business owners and then writing about their approaches to productivity. But then the pandemic struck and the world changed. Now, we all know the hospitality sector was particularly badly hit, but within the hospitality sector, Bangladeshi caterers were even more severely hit, because the Bangladeshi community are disproportionately reliant on the food sector for survival, I think they're 20 times more likely. They were 20 times more likely to work in a shutdown sector than the white community, for example. So, you know, we have a community disproportionately reliant on the food sector for survival, full stop. And through that 3-year period, the research project sort of metamorphosized from research into a genuinely collaborative initiative that focused as much on finding solutions for the sector as it did on generating research. So during that time, we've developed really deep links with the Bangladeshi food sector, linking them up with organizations and institutions like yours at the council, Sarah, like the Growth Hub, like our own university. And what that collaboration has done two important things. One, it has shown to the Bangladeshi catering sector that there is hope out there. There are sources of support out there. The great work that you're doing at the council, supported by the work the Growth Hub is doing, there's resources there that could provide much needed support for the sector. And at the same time, I think we hope that we've shown to policymakers and practitioners and economic development specialists that the Bangladeshi food sector has a future. It's a really innovative sector. There's huge change going on, and it's providing a real sort of contribution to Birmingham's food sector. And I think that twinfold contribution of demonstrating the sources of support available to minority businesses, and at the same time showing to policymakers and decision makers, well, here there's a real vitality in this sector, providing we get the support measures right. That, I think, gives us real grounds for optimism in terms of supporting that particular sector. And an offshoot of that project has been a really exciting initiative that at my centre for Research in Ethnic Minority Entrepreneurship is undertaking with the Food, Farming and Countryside Commission. Together, we're collaborating on a funded PhD, a project looking at farm to fork approaches to the curry sector. That is a really exciting initiative because it's drawing in, is highlighting the challenge of sort of macro global issues like sustainability, but directly looking at that for the curry sector. There hasn't been any real sort of significant piece of research on looking at sustainability within the curry sector, and that's precisely what we'll be doing with within this project in collaboration with the Food, Farming and Countryside Commission. Now, that's an exciting project, and we hope that it will identify a number of lessons for the sector, but also for policymakers engaged in supporting the food sector too.
Brilliant. And I think that's really key, is that we need to look at sustainability in terms of the food and the food system, but also of the workforce, of the businesses, of the infrastructure will never be like really achieving a regenerative food system unless we really strengthen the entire pathway. And I know that there's challenges with recruitment because there's been changes in the expectations around what roles people have and jobs they have as they grow up. So I think that's a really key area, and a really key area of strength in our city. We've got University College Birmingham with a catering college, and we've got other methods to get people into the food sector. But I think it's such a growth area that we can really do a huge amount there. And the other sides that are complete assets in our city are, we're doing a Full of Beans campaign this year to increase consumption of beans and pulses. But that is the absolute cornerstone of loads of diets across our city. So it's such a way to celebrate the diversity of our city and what amazing recipes and foods we've got, whether it's South Asian, or there's like beans and pulses dishes in Africa, in Central America, in South America, in Spain, like all sorts of places. And I think the approach that we'll take is really amplifying the existing assets we've already got in our city and the people who are doing amazing things. So it would be great to showcase that. The other side is looking at sustainable food tourism and realizing that we've got an amazing city that we can attract people to. that we've got so much to share, and I think there's a lot more coordinated work happening in that sphere as well, where if you can bring together the existing communities and the food sector and economic growth and all these opportunities, I think it's an exciting time to come. And I think what we're working on at the moment is looking at how do you have meaningful engagement around the Birmingham Food Revolution, which is the movement that's driving the strategy into implementation. How do you get ongoing relationship development that is meaningful, that means that you're still capturing the voices of everybody across the city? So this year, what we're working on is not just having traditional forums or meetings, but recognizing that we need to go to people and we need to integrate with the existing infrastructure and the ways people communicate. So we're looking at how we can make sure we don't create a one-size-fits-all approach. And we're engaging with people such as yourselves to say, how should we be going about making sure that any policies and priorities and strategies and anything we create continue to have this co-production element that's gone into the creation of what we've done so far, but we need to make sure we continue doing that into all the projects that we implement going forwards as well. What do you see coming forwards in our city, Monder?
Well, I think what you've just said, Sarah, about which I think, you know, as you were speaking, I think what's really come out for me, and which resonates very strongly with what we're trying to do, is the assets we have in our communities, and food is one of them. And actually, the potential that food has to serve as a uniting force for our city. You know, it's obviously a topic that interests us all, and something that we all have a stake in, and it's something where difference, diversity is an incredible strength. And you know, and that sort of resonates very, very strongly with the work that we are doing. Our mission at CREME, at our centre, is making diversity everyone's business. And I think there's a really exciting sort of connection to be made with that kind of message and the amazing work that you're doing to develop relationships with communities, going out to the different communities and using that, I suppose, reach, that leverage, and that ability to bring communities together to promote to the world through the sort of food as a sustainable tourism strategy. So I think the direction we're taking in our work to really highlight the centrality of diversity and enterprise to the city has so many strong resonances with what you're doing too, Sarah. So I think that's our key priority for the forthcoming year, really emphasize the importance of progressive ways to harness the diversity and talent within our city.
Yeah, and I think the links to other cities and international organisations such as Food Farming Countryside Commission, the amount of amazing research projects happening in the city, there's UKRI, Mandala Consortium, and all these people are helping us overcome some of the biggest challenges we have. For example, the Broken Plate report from the Food Foundation said that the most deprived people in our communities have to pay over 50% of their income on food in order to be able to eat a nutritious diet. And we've done our own research in the city, and we found that over half of Birmingham, half the residents cannot afford to eat according to the Eat Well guide. And that is something that is underpinning so much of the challenges that we face. But that isn't a food price issue. That is a poverty issue. That is a inclusive growth issue. That's a jobs issue. So that's why you need to have a system approach, because the solution isn't to make food cheaper. It's to make sure that people are earning enough to live and that the cost of living is appropriate. And we need to look at much more holistic approaches to how much income people have and where they can access food that's like nutritious, balanced and affordable. So I think certainly working together and working with researchers and national organisations and learning from other cities is really key, as well as empowering our communities, because communities have so many solutions already. They're already doing them. So we don't need to walk in and take over or do anything. We just need to empower them to carry on doing what they do and really listen to what solutions they need and what support they need and help them achieve that. But I'm certainly looking forward to seeing what comes from the national conversation, because there's so much we've learned already, and I'm really excited to see what other things that we could, how we could influence our future approaches in the city. Yeah, I'm really excited to working with you as well, Monder, to see what else we can achieve.
Likewise, I'm really looking forward to seeing what comes out of the conversation, the national conversation, and all the great work that you're doing and your colleagues are doing to advance this agenda.